This is what the Philadelphia Eagles have to do to win their 10th straight game, which would be a franchise record, and take down the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 15 at Lincoln Financial Field. And if the Eagles get that dub, they will move their record to a dominant 12-2 and stay within striking distance for that number 1 seed and home field advantage in the NFC. And hopefully the drama between Brandon Graham, Jalen Hurts, and A.J. Brown doesn't result in a late season collapse like it did last year when some of these players and coaches weren't on the same page. Nick Sirianni did say this week, the vibes are not like 2023. The vibes are like 2022, and I hope he's right. I think he is right. I think this Eagles team is special. How the Eagles stack up this year on both sides of the ball, let's take a look at that here. Philadelphia averaging 26.3 points per game. That's 8th among 32 teams. They're 7th in yards per game at 371.1. 12th in yards per play at 5.8. The passing game bringing down that number a little bit because Saquon Barkley is averaging 6.1 yards per carry himself. The Eagles 8th on third downs at 43.4%, and they're starting to get a little bit better in the red zone. They're up to 9th at 59.1%. That means anytime you get inside the 20, how often are you converting those drives into touchdowns? Defensively, what a job Vic Fangio has done. And also Howie Roseman, because these players that he's drafted have taken that leap that they needed to take in order for this Eagles defense to flush what was a nightmarish 2023 season. The Birds, 2nd in points per game allowed at 18, 1st in yards per game at 284.2, number 1 in yards per play, 3rd on third downs, and 6th inside the red area. The Steelers team, they have exceeded a lot of expectations, especially on the offensive side of the football. Not a lot of people thought that Pittsburgh was going to be a top 10 scoring offense. They are 24.8 points per ball game. They are 17th in yards, 22nd in yards per play, but they are 12th on third downs. They do struggle in the red zone, so that could end up being a big element of this game. Which team can capitalize in the red area with these two really good defenses with touchdowns instead of field goals, because the difference between 3 and 7 could be the difference in this ball game. Defensively, led by the star that is T.J. Watt. In my opinion, the best edge rusher in football right now because he's so good against the pass and against the run. The Steelers are only surrendering 18.3 points per game. Not far behind Philadelphia, 7th in yards per game, 8th in yards per play, 2nd best third down defense. So they're getting off the field, getting that ball back into the hands of the offense. They don't give up a lot of elongated drives in which the opposition matriculates downfield to eat up clock. And the Steelers defense in the red zone about middle of the pack here. So again, that's why that's a key, 53.6%. So my keys to the game here. I know A.J. Brown after that Panthers game said, what's my biggest worry? Passing. I think Philadelphia still needs to stick with their identity. That's playing bully ball, that's playing smash mouth, that's running behind this elite offensive line and utilizing the MVP candidate that is Saquon Barkley. Just because A.J. Brown isn't happy with the pass game, and yes, it does need to improve, doesn't mean that Kellen Moore has to overcompensate to make him happy, take you away from your strengths, and then all of a sudden you go pass happy and you ignore why you are who you are right now, which is the run game. Philadelphia has the number 1 rushing offense in the National Football League. Take advantage of that. Lean on that offensive line. It has worked up to this point, and that's why Philadelphia is in that number 2 spot in the NFC, having won 9 games in a row. That being said, Jalen Hurts might need to make some throws in this football game, and Philadelphia might have to win, partially because of the arm of Jalen Hurts, because this Steelers defense against the run, very much like Baltimore a couple of weeks ago, stout, very good. The opposing rush play percentage, teams are running it only 37.9% of the time. That's 4th in the NFL, but Pittsburgh is giving up just 4.1 yards per rush. That's 6th. So 2 yards less than what Saquon is averaging. Rushes per game, 22.4. 2nd in the NFL. So again, teams don't run it a lot against Pittsburgh. Partially they can't. They also air it out. Rushing yards per game, 91.5. That's 4th in the league. And then rushing touchdowns per game, 0.9. That's 13th. That Steelers rush defense will be stacked up against this Eagles rushing offense. The Eagles, the number 1 most run-heavy team in the NFL at 56.5%. Their yards per rush as a team, number 2 at 5.2. Rushes per game, that's carries, also number 1, 36.4 on average. Philadelphia putting up nearly 200 yards of rushing per ball game, 190.5, and then the rushing touchdowns because of Saquon, because of Jalen Hurts being dominant with the brotherly shove, 1.9, almost 2 rushing touchdowns per ball game. That is also atop the league for Philadelphia. And of course, the Eagles, led by the special season of Saquon Barkley, the spectacular playmaker that he is, against Carolina in Week 14. He broke LaShawn McCoy's record for the most rushing yards in a single season. In 14 weeks, he already has 266 carries for 1,623 yards. He's averaging 124.8 rushing yards per game and 11 touchdowns. You look at how that previous record-breaking season for LaShawn McCoy stacked up there on the left side of your screen. Key to the game number 2. What a great matchup that we will have between right tackle Lane Johnson and TJ Watt, who's always primarily lined up usually as the left defensive end. So TJ Watt and Lane Johnson will be going at it all throughout the ball game. This will be a 60-minute clash that is one of the best matchups that you will see in an NFL game. And I encourage you, don't just watch the football in this game. Watch the right tackle against the left defensive end matchup between Watt and Johnson, 2 of the best, most dominant players in all of football. TJ Watt this year, overall Pro Football Focus grade of 92.4. That is second among 201 edge rushers in the sport. He has a pass rush grade of 88. That is 8th. He has a Pro Football Focus run defense grade of 92.2. That is number 1 among all edge rushers. So Philadelphia likes to run Saquon up the middle. They'll probably continue to go with that attack to stay away from TJ Watt, but also Lane Johnson, a very good run blocker. So look out for those runs to that right edge and look to see how Saquon Barkley can match up against TJ Watt. Watt is also number 1 in the league in quarterback hits, and he has 39 pressures this year, and his sack numbers are also very good, top 10 in that category. Lane Johnson in 2024 has an overall Pro Football Focus grade of 86.1, 5th among 133 offensive tackles. His pass block grade is 6th at 87.8, phenomenal. Run blocking grade, 9th at 81.6. He hasn't given up a sack this year. That's tied for first, and he's only given up 1 hit of Jalen Hurts. Key to the game number 3. We know that Russell Wilson is a shorter quarterback. Sometimes he likes to create out of structure, throw the ball downfield. He has that patented Russell Wilson moon ball. He excels with the long ball. Sometimes he has to do that, and he throws a lot of passes to the boundary because, like Jalen Hurts, he's a little bit shorter in height. And so he can't see sometimes the middle area of the field because those towering offensive linemen are in front of him, and there's a lot of bodies inside that tackle box. So Russell Wilson will target the sideline, and he excels still with the touch on that long ball. That's why he's averaging a career-best 8.4 yards per attempt, because a lot of his completions have come downfield. Now, it looks as though George Pickens will not play in this game as of this recording, and so if Russell Wilson does not have George Pickens, that does hurt the long ball threat for the Steelers offense. But regardless, Russell Wilson has had a very good year. Last couple of years in Denver, after that Seahawks trade, he looked cooked. And the saying used to be, let Russ cook. He looked cooked. This year, though, he's kind of revitalized his career to a certain degree, and I think Pittsburgh is going to sign him to a contract extension worth about $30 million per year this offseason. How can you not when he's playing like this? And his playing style bodes perfectly for how this Steelers team is built, very much like how those Legion of Boom defenses were built in Seattle, which helped Russell Wilson out. And since he took over as the team starter, he had that calf injury early in the year, and so Justin Fields was the starter. The Steelers are 5th in points per game with Russ as the quarterback, 7th in yards per game, 13th in yards per play, 12th on third downs. They are 31st in the red zone. So this Eagles defense has played very well in the red zone, keeping teams out of the paint, and they've only had 11 giveaways. 7th best mark in the NFL. Key to the game number 4. This sounds cliche, but given that this is a physical matchup between two bully ball types of teams, turnovers will be huge. And I think this game is going to be decided by a couple of plays, and it'll be decided on the margins. And the Steelers team, they do a good job of forcing turnovers. That flips momentum. It gives their offense opportunities to put points on the board. The Steelers are tied for first with the Buffalo Bills in turnover plus minus at plus 17. The Steelers have 13 interceptions as a ball club, so they can eat on that back end. Some anticipatory players in that secondary, and they forced 11 fumbles too. So the peanut punch will be seen from this Steelers group. That's a total of 24 total interceptions and fumbles, turnovers here that Pittsburgh's been able to generate this year. Really, really good defense, and a defense that is able to capitalize on some of those mistakes, and an offense that in turn can capitalize as well. And then key to the game number 5. The Steelers special teams are elite. Braden Mann, a clutch punt last week against the Panthers late in that game to pin Carolina at their own 1. The week before that, against Baltimore, he won NFC Special Teams Player of the Week. With a couple of coffin corner punts and punts inside the 20, he was awesome. So he's going to have another good game, but the Eagles are going to have to block it up well, both for field goals, especially because Jake Elliott is mentally fickle right now. They're going to have to block up punts, but they're going to have to cover well downfield too with their coverage units against Pittsburgh, because the Steelers, excellent special teams team led by an excellent special teams coach in Danny Smith, who is a legend. You'll see him on the sideline during the broadcast. Sometimes he has like 5 pieces of gum in his mouth, just chomping away on that chew. And he's been a special teams coordinator since 2001. And since 2013 with Pittsburgh, the Steelers this year have blocked a lot of punts. They've had a lot of punt returns. They've had a lot of kick returns that have flipped ball games. And if the Eagles make a mistake here or a mistake there, it could cost them the game. Again, this is a game that could be decided on the margins. And so Philadelphia's going to have to be buttoned up in this game. Pittsburgh is usually a buttoned up team. It's one of the staples for Mike Tomlin, and that third phase of the game will be critical. So with that, I want you to predict the score. Best Eagles-Steelers preview that you'll see on YouTube. Let me know down in the comment section, and here is my prediction. I think it's a close game. And I think that the Eagles win late on a Jake Elliott field goal. These two teams go back and forth. They trade some shots. And it's one of those games that's a little bit low scoring, but a knock 'em out, drag 'em out type of ball game, 23-20. I'm rocking with Philadelphia. And another reminder, we will be live for our Eagles-Steelers watch party, a special extended pregame show. We care about you. We love you. We want to thank you for all of the support. So we're going live a little bit earlier. Don't forget to subscribe.